Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Economic Truth Report number 17. And today, a lot of things have happened, and it's not too long ago since I uploaded uh, report number 16. But we're gonna do a quick one, and it's 9 days ago. But so much have happened since that 9 days have actually gone. We actually talked about the referendum, and that could be the start of World War III. Well, guess what? There's another massive potential trigger that we can talk about, and it's the bombing of Nord Stream 1 and 2 that happened, where there was 4 explosions. And who did it? Everybody's blaming Russia, and Russia is blaming the United States. So we're gonna go a bit into it and see who could have done it, my thoughts on my opinion. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's go through the report first. We're gonna look at the week, how the week is gone, how the month look in markets, and so on. So let me share the screen here with you guys, and we're gonna go into what is happening currently, because there's a lot of crazy things in markets on top of everything else. There is a huge thing going on in Britain right now, and there might be a lot of other things going on there as well that are just breaking right now, this moment. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the markets first, guys. And let's start with the currency markets. So as you can see here, on the week, pretty huge gyrations. Like this is pretty solid, moves in the currency markets. If you take a look at the pound, the British pound has really been struggling. It's up a bit now after. We're going to talk about it later, though. The interventions by the Central Bank of Britain didn't take long before they went back to QE. Did it? So that's what we're going to look at. So stay tuned for that. And but yeah, so take a look at currencies. Major swings, really. Let's just look at the values here, because we haven't talked about that for a while now. And the dollar itself has been extremely strong. It did hit 1.14, I think. Let's see, we're at the peak. Yeah, 114.20 at one moment. And now it's back down again. But what's interesting is it's back down as you have the stock market's crashing at the same time. Usually what had happened until now is that stock market crashes, dollar goes up because everybody goes into cash. So very interesting developments there that's going on with the dollar. Of course, Brent Johnson's dollar milkshake theory is right in place. He really hit the ballpark with his predictions, and they're in play right now. So yeah, so as you can see here, lots of currencies are really struggling. Like, look at we're gonna go into the pound a little bit later, but it's worth to see. Let's go and look at an all-time here. The only time the pound has really struggled is in this much is since, let's see here, about February of 1985, and it's heading that way. It's not there yet, but it is moving quite in that direction. And as you can see here, it's still struggling. We're gonna go and look at bonds in a little bit. The UK bonds. Usually we've been looking at American bonds, but there's actually a lot of things that have happened as of late in markets. So that's the major currencies. Huge move, of course, in British Gilt, and which is the British bond market. And as you can see here, the euro is as well, very weak. It's below $1, and the Swiss franc is struggling as well. The lira is at a record low to the dollar right now. You have what else? Yeah, this Swedish krona too is really struggling. And I'm wondering if Swedish banks are gonna start to struggle as well. As you can see here, it's the worst it's ever been to the US dollar. Last time it was this bad was during the dot-com bubble. And of course, Sweden is a heavy technology country, so it could have to do with that as well. But look at this, it's past the old record lows against the dollar. Let's go and look at the zloty, the Polish zloty. and see what's going on there. Let's take a look at the all-time. See again, no all-time lows. Sorry, highs, I guess you can call it. Um, towards the dollar. Everybody's struggling, and as you can see, some currencies are worse than others, and the Colombian peso here is struggling. The Uruguayan, what is the Uruguayan currency again? Let's see here. The Uruguayan currency is, oh my goodness, I better ask Matt or Doug Casey about this, what their currency is. Anyway, it's a lot of interesting things that's going on around the world, and as you can see, there's a big move there. Some currencies are moving up and down. Sir, what is this again? This is the Surinamese dollar keeps on falling. I think it's at a pretty bad record high, as you can see in the hockey stick moment. It's on its way to failure, to say the least. Otherwise, there's not much else to talk about. Of course, the Japanese yen keeps on. It's finding a little bit of a support level here, but it's still, struggling quite a bit with the it being at a record, not quite a record, but it's passing. It's above the 1998 peak right now, so we're starting to see a lot of things happening there. And yeah, and let's look at the Chinese yuan. Chinese yuan hasn't moved very much to the US dollar, fairly stable. And the shekel in Israel has moved a bit. Then you got, is that Tajikistan? I believe its currency has done well against the US dollar. Same with the Iranian dollar and the Kyrgyz. Where's the Kyrgyzstani currency again? It is the Sum. Has done better, probably because oil prices are up a little bit again. They've been, they were very high and then they dropped down again, but that could change pretty quickly, going back up again. I mean, we see gas prices here actually in Vancouver in Canada. They're at new record all-time highs. Here they are not quite there yet. They're about 20 something cents away. It's still pretty expensive at 185 Canadian dollars right here where I'm at. Mauritanian currencies fold a bit. The Sudanese, South Sudanese pound has strengthened slightly. I think that has to do with oil as well. Seychelles rupee has strengthened a bit. Seychelles is, of course, a Bitcoin haven as well. Okay, so that's the currency markets. Let's look at the stock markets, and let's go and look. Yeah. So look at the weekly here, and as you can see, Nasdaq is down. Everything is down. Moscow is hurting. Its stock exchange has lost 52% value year over year. And as you can see, there's multiple other ones too as well that are not doing too well. Look at old Portugal is hiding out over there, all the way down south, east in Western Europe, and hasn't moved too much. Very interesting. Um, in Croatia, stock exchange haven't lost that much year over year. It got, of course, the Turkish stock exchange has drastically gone up, but as you can see, yeah, so these are just losing right now, all of them on a weekly basis. There's only a few winners, Switzerland, but we're gonna get back to Switzerland. It might be in very, very deep trouble, potentially. You got Stockholm Stock Exchange has gone slightly up this week. Not many too crazy moves. Bermuda has dropped quite a bit. In this is Americas. The Merval has dropped in Argentina, Colombia, semi to Colombian and Mexican exchanges, and so on. Peru is the only one that's up right now, and Jamaica, sorry. In Asia, let's see how we got serious problems for the Philippines have lost some value, but year over year compared to others, they're not that bad. You got big losses in Lebanon. Your gain. This is like again, I talk about this all the time, but that gain for Lebanon has nothing to do with that. It's good. It actually is way below their inflation, which I think is near 100 or so. Go down here further. Taiwan. You got Kuwait has lost. Very interesting. As the oil has strengthened a bit. So that is an interesting thing to watch. You got the Israeli stock exchange lost quite a bit. Same with Hong Kong, Indonesia as well, and then the Emirati stock exchange, Dubai, um, Thailand as well. This is Bahrain, I believe, and Liberia. Yeah, no, the Malaysia, sorry, not Liberia. That's in Africa. But yeah, we keep on going down there, and let's just skip all the way to then India and China has not lost that much. Japan has lost a little bit, but not that crazy. As you can see, the Asian stock exchanges now. China, of course, has lost quite a bit over time now, so it doesn't show year over year here. Sri Lanka's stock exchange, like as you can see, the stock exchange is only up this, and the inflation is 70. So that is a huge loss. Even though the stock exchange is up, doesn't mean you have made any money compared to your purchasing power. Um, the Laos composite is up. This is just the Wix Saudi stock exchange. Pakistani stock exchange is up a bit. Not too many moves. In New Zealand and Australia, all stock exchanges are down. They're not nowhere near what European and of course American stock exchanges are down, but they're up there. You got here in Africa, you got Zimbabwe again, but it's nowhere near again their total inflation that they have right now year over year. Tunisia gained a little bit. As you can see here, you had the Moroccan stock exchange lost quite drastically here, and the Kenyan stock exchange and the Niger stock. Is this Niger or is it Ghana? Yeah, the Ghana stock exchange, sorry. The Ghanesian stock exchange lost a little bit too as well. Tunisia gained. You got what is this here? Is this Mauritania? No, Mauritius, sorry. And Mauritania doesn't have anything other than pure desert. Okay, so that's the stock market. Let's go and look at commodities that are more interesting this week. Gas prices are on the rise again because a little accident happened out there in the Oster Sea, outside of Bornholm, a little dangerous island. So you got methanols up, ammonia. Oh no, sorry, this is oil from the Ural Mountains, so Russian and well, Russian, Kazakh, and I think Azerbaijan has oil there, and a few others. I don't remember off my head who else is there. Gasoline is slightly up in the U.S. Otherwise, propane has dropped quite a bit, which is no good if you buy a lot of propane. Natural gas slightly down, but this is the American natural gas price and Canadian. So we are not nowhere near affected, the amount that the British are doing right now. And I I don't have it pulled up here actually, but there was a recent article that shows because of high electricity prices in the UK, now electrical cars cost more to charge than filling up gas on your internal combustion engine car. How about that? Weekly, copper is up a little bit. Where's copper right now? Let's go and look at copper quickly here. Because Dr. Copper, what are you telling us? Dr. Copper is telling us that things are not as good. And of course, gotta remember, like, it's up here because of inflation. This is inflation. This is the reason why it's constantly moving upwards, is inflation. We got lithium slightly up, gold slightly up for the week. Hasn't lost very much. In total to US dollar term, that is. In other currencies, now I haven't looked fully, but I heard rumors that they're doing quite well against all the other currencies right now. Gold, so it's holding its purchasing power versus other currencies. Silver is still down quite drastically year over year, slightly up. Now I just recently bought some silver, and the premiums are still on the lower end of the spectrum of grade. I bought some coins, some bullion, and they were probably, I would say probably $9 Canadian in premium right now. So still a lot of demand for them, but I could get some. You got wheat prices are moving slightly up again here. Let's go and look at this. Yeah, see, it's starting to move up again here. So there might be some trouble on the online. And as you can see here, go further. Let's just go really to an all time. As you can see, 2008, this created the Arab Spring, this run up here. And this run up, I don't think we've seen the peak of it, guys. I think this could get really, really, really bad potentially. This right here. So keep an eye. This could, you know, if it proportionately goes up to real value potentially of the food, you know, it can end up here, which is not on the chart yet. So keep an eye on wheat. Very important commodity for most of Western and some Northern African nations, a lot of Afghanistan and those area, like all the not Middle East. Oh, help me now. Yeah. Anyways, in those countries like Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan and all those down there. Sorry for not remembering. Sometimes I get a brain fart every now and then. You got cocoa. Rapeseed oil is up. Orange juice is up. I believe that is up also because of the hurricane. Is it Ian? That made landfall in Florida, destroyed a whole bunch of stuff. So that's one of the big reasons why our orange juice is up. Then we go on the latter end. Cotton is down 10%. And as you can see here, the 10% is that it's down. Let's go and take a look at cotton prices here. Oh, look at this. It's dropping below, but again, on what scale, right? As you can see, keeps on going up here. It's not going down. It's not getting cheaper now than 20 years ago, for example. It's only getting more expensive. You got palm oils drop quite a bit. Tea, soybeans drop minus 4.17. Lumber keeps on dropping, and it probably dropping with the real estate market there in North America, of course, being starting to quite see some massive cracks. And we're going to go a little bit into especially the Canadian one, which is way, 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 way worse off than the American one. The American one, it depends on where you are in the United States, but there's certain places that are really skyrocketed there too. But compared to Canada, it's a joke because Canada didn't have the 2008 downturn. So now we're going to have it, and on a really, really nasty scale, I believe. So, you know, prepare yourself accordingly. You got the biggest gainers of this week for commodities is lead, bitumen, palladium. You got neodymium, magnesium, crap pulp. Yeah, it's staying quite stable, as you can see here, some of them. Iron ore slightly down. Urea has dropped quite a bit, which is a part of fertilizer. But as you can see, it's dropped, yeah, but it's nowhere near where it was. You know, it's up almost 3. Yeah, it's over 300% from 2020. Okay, so yeah, I think, is that it? Oh, we got, here's some meat products. Eggs are up again, and as you can see here, eggs have really gone up drastically. It also has to do probably with they had bird flu or whatever, so they're killing everything that might have the slightest thing of bird flu, of course. So mass murder, counts for a lot of this by the government, of course. They're doing great in controlling prices to the upside. Yeah, beef, everything else is down, like beef, meat products, salmon is down a little bit as well. And then eggs, but this is Chinese eggs, is down quite a bit, and it's not up as much, but look at the US eggs here. And this has to do with the bird flu, I'm pretty sure. So salmon in Norway is up as well, 36% year over year. Yeah, and I think that's it for the commodities market. We're gonna go and look at bonds now, and we're not gonna look at too many bonds. As you can see here, there's not too much gyrations, not too much moves year over year. But if you take a look at, well, let's take a quick look at the United States first. And it's kind of withdrawn, like the yield curve. The 10-year was getting close to inverting with the 3-month, but then it pulled back up again. Usually that happens before a real terrible recession. So it hasn't happened yet. Now, we are in the recession technically, but they tried to fix that by saying that, oh, yeah, that just doesn't exist anymore because we redefine how we define a recession, which is hilarious. But 10-year to 2-year is inverted, like almost 50 basis points, as you can see here. You got 4-month is jumping now because I guess they're predicting another big event to happen with more rate hikes. We'll see next time the United States Federal Reserve is hiking rates. This one is interesting. As you can see here, there's huge peak up, a run up here. Look at this, like it was down here at 3. This is the 10-year bond, by the way. And then it went all the way up to 4.69. And then here comes the quantitative easing because they announced that they're going to go back and purchase again. Now, they haven't, of course, pushed interest rates down back again yet, but they are purchasing them. So they're basically bringing the prices down. As you can see here, if you look at month over month, there's quite substantial moves here, as you can see. So yeah, they went in there and total carnage. Let's go to crypto quickly. And over the week, Terra Luna is back. Is it back? I unfollowed. What's going on there? Uniswap, which I actually hold a little bit of position at Uniswap. But again, it got whacked pretty good. Most of the crypto market did. Of course, I sold. I think when I lost like 25% from the peak, I sold most of all my Bitcoin. I don't hold a lot as of late. I hold some, but I've been buying either commodity stocks right now, which have dropped nowhere near, except for some of my gold miners. But I am prepared to lose some money there for long-term gains when things really take off there. Now, as you can see here, weekly Cosmos, Algorand, Ripple, Cardano, they're all like kind of mainstream type of, not really Bitcoin type of currencies. Then where's Bitcoin here? Where are you, Bitcoin? Oh, here. Bitcoin is up 0.62. And as you can see here too, it's Bitcoin. Let's see year over year who has lost the least. The Binance coin, which is their form of stable coin, I guess. Not really, but it's done a lot better than others. Monero's actually hold its place because Monero is Monero. It only, as you can see here, what is Monero at? $2.6 billion in market cap, but it's basically been a stable market for the people that like Monero. They are in Monero for a good reason. They're not there to dabble too much, so they're actually using it as a utility for transacting privately. Okay, so that's it for the markets. And now for some news. And then we'll see if I'm gonna do it in this video or if I'm gonna create a separate video. But we are gonna go into some infrastructure because some very important infrastructure has been bombed. Here, let's go into it right now and get started here. In the the whole Russian thing, the Ukrainian war that is turning into World War III, basically. Unless brighter and calmer heads prevail, we're not doing too great right now. Russia and China signs a contract on the mutual deployment of navigation systems. So as you can see here, they are creating Russia GLONASS stations will be located in so they're actually adding radar type of navigational systems between China and Russia, a closer tie, in the because I think we talked about it last one, that Russia and China has a lot of gold potentially that they could use as quite good leverage against what's going on right now geopolitically and especially with in war times. So yeah, things could happen pretty well there. But as you can see, they are doing things with navigational systems. Of course, we got the GPS global positioning system in the United States. I think I'm actually, if I'm going into the infrastructure, we're going to go and look at that quickly as well. China trials a cross-border settlement involving central bank digital currencies. And this is let's see here, a central bank digital currency trial focused on cross-border transactions has been completed. The Biz said, with the Chinese state-owned banks participating in Beijing tries to internationalize its digital yuan. More than 160 cross-border payments and foreign exchange transactions totaling more than 22 million were made during the first trial involving 4 central bank digital currencies and real value transactions, said the BIS statement. So it says that it's 4 here. Who was involved? Multiple central bank digital currency bridge tests developed by BIS included China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the UAE. Now there's actually more as well. I have another one that there was another BIS trial. Actually, let's just go straight to that and put it here instead. Project Icebreaker is going on here in between several other central banks. So it's not just China and those that were doing it. It's actually in Norway and Sweden and Israel that are doing it, and they're using something called the Icebreaker Hub. They're all like doing CBDCs as well. The e-krona has been a project in Sweden for a very long time. They were one of the first to actually develop it. It hasn't really been used yet, but it's coming into fruition. Let's just say it like that. So CBDCs are going to come, but you need to be positioned to a place where you're not going to be dependent on these, or else you're going to have to be under the grid of totalitarianism that has never been seen in history before, when these moron central bankers are going to micromanage your life. Yeah, so back to what's going on with the whole problem with what do you call it over there by Nord Stream, where I think Nordstream might be so damaged that they're not going to be able to fix it at all, which really sucks, because that is very important to Europe. They really needed that. But hey, why do we need it, right? Yeah, no, so there's a lot of things that's been going on there. And I'm just scrolling through here. Sorry, guys, for keeping you hanging here for a sec, but we're going to look at some interesting facts. Let me just actually just share this over here. This is my group, by the way, on Telegram. Please feel free to join it. I just use it to post a lot of stuff there for you guys, so you can read and stay up to date on things. You got here Nordstream pipeline sabotage, the only one country that benefits. So as you can see here, I have this app, and I actually I'm going to show you some more things that I saw. Now this one here, yeah, here, as you can see here, just north of Bornholm, closer to Yilon, I think it is, over here. You had a U.S. government vessel. It's a military ops vessel. And guess what? There was not just that U.S. government military ops vessel. There was something else there too. Let's go and have a look here. Sorry, it's we do post a lot here, but as you can see, it's this little ship as well, German warship F219. It's also a military ops vessel, and as you can see here, this was basically. Let's see, do we have the date here? No, we don't. But I'm going to show you the track of this warship. Here's Bornholm, the Danish island, little island. But here, take a look at this so you can see it here. Is it just like watching over the Nord Stream? Like what's going on there? It's, as you can see, it's moving right here. And as I think I posted too, is the actual problems that we had. But this was, during the time frame that things happen. Maybe the Germans were tricked into it or duped into it, where they basically were over there, and then they basically the bomb happened at that time. Could have been the Germans or the Russians had a U-boat or something, and they went in and blew up the things during when the vessel passed. So did the Germans get tricked either by the U.S. or the Russians? No one knows yet, but everybody is blaming Russia, and Russia is blaming, of course, the United States, which has some things. They're known to be sketchy with some false flag exercises, like the Gulf of Tonkin, the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and I think also 9/11 personally was a false flag event as well. Yeah, but so that's the boat, and here you can see, if you remember seeing that the track of it, and as you can see, here's the explosions that happened during that time. Oh yeah, and yeah, so that was it. So let's move this out of the way again. But very interesting things though that are happening. The Danes are saying that there's spotted mystical drone activity, and that's the energy company there. Is it Dong Energy? I forgot to. No, Total Energies. Has seen some other stuff, but this is at one of their gas fields on the 29th. So this is after they're all worried that things are going to go down. Stoltenberg says that NATO will answer on the sabotage against critical infrastructure. Well, so first of all, it's a Russian German pipeline where basically all the natural gas flows through. It's all like been shut out, like whatever was in the pipes have come out now. And we can talk about the approach now, that they're taking to that, the natural gas and methane coming out, the gases. Lithuania urges Russian anti-war protesters to overthrow Putin. There's also people that I think it was the Chechen, and it was just today, the Chechen leader. They've been in the Ukraine war for a long time. The Chechens, with a big group of people helping Russia, of course, in the Ukrainian war, and the Chechens are calling for using small nuclear arms to just let's just scare them a little bit. Here we are, Nord Stream gas leaks may be new disaster for the climate. Time for climate lockdowns. Let's just that'd be a good idea, and we'll do a climate lock. Yeah, how about it? Climate lockdown. That'd be so great. Especially Germany and Sweden, I guess, has to take the brunt. Maybe Germany as well. Whoever is nearby. They used up all their carbon credits with this leak. And here is Nordstream Sabotage, how Putin could have carried out the attack. You can't really read this, but I thought it was hilarious. It's a paid one, of course, because a lot of these mainstreams that nobody really cares about, they have paid to access them because they're broke. But yeah, so who actually did it? Like, when you take a geopolitical view of it, it's either, sabotage by NATO and the United States, which is highly possible, of course, or is it that Russia basically told, the West that, yeah, we don't want anything to do with you anymore, but they still are sending gas through some pipelines. I know that there's some Austrian issues right now that's been going on. Let's take a quick look if I have the articles up here. Cyprus is actually looking for an exemption of the energy cutbacks of Europe. I think it was, yeah, here we go. Let's pull this one up, guys. Russia suspends gas to Italy after problem in Austria with there's a gas line there apparently. Very interesting as well. Let's just pull it over here. And then here, Nordstream 2 pipeline sabotage. Only one country benefits. Yeah, it's the United States, because the United States now could tell, they got rid of one competitor, of course, there by cutting off those pipelines. They're probably not going to get fixed. But it's like $10 billion project. It's like, can you imagine like somebody attacking a $10 billion oil refinery is only like 1 billion to maybe $3 billion. It'd be the equivalent to attacking 4 or 5 5, 6 oil refineries. Very destructive, and if somebody else than Russia did it, well, it's an act of war. My point of view. Not that I am into the whole war garbage, anyways, but yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. BALTOP's a perfect opportunity. So this is NATO had something called BALTOPS 22, which is an exercise in the Baltic Sea, looking at the effectiveness of operational scenarios. So the experimentation was conducted off the coast of Bornholm, Denmark, with participants from the Naval Information Warfare Center, NIWC, Pacific Naval Undersea Warfare Center, NUWC in Newport, and Mine Warfare Readiness and Effectiveness Measuring MIRM, all under the direction of the United States Sixth Fleet Task Force 68. The Baltops is an ideal location for conducting and hunting experimentation due to region's unique conditions such as low salinity, varying bottom types. It is also evaluate emerging mine hunting and UV technology. So that's underwater unmanned vehicle, I believe, is the number. So basically that was a part of it. And so they were looking at, what could happen and what they could fight in a undersea scenario, and what's going on. So they were doing that in June of this year. And then the dynamic messenger 22 that they had in Portugal, they were testing UUVs, I guess that's what they're called, as well at this time. I don't think they have, they just have some pictures. It's Netherlands. Yeah, of what happened. There was 18 ships, 48 unmanned assets, 1,500 personnel from 16 NATO countries. So they basically were testing that out in that exercise as well. More on the Russian war front, Finland is looking at adding some fencing on the Finnish-Russian border. Now, I talked to a friend of mine, Ronnie. He's from Finland, but he's Finnish-Swedish. But he was telling me, that Finland has always had a standing army because they're right up against Russia, of course, that are bigger than both Sweden and Norway, I believe. And now Norway and Sweden is trying to catch up, trying to get more people involved in the military, of course. Gas price, German gas price break to cost between 15 to 24 billion euros. So that's basically government trying to put a cap on gas price, but basically they're just spending money buying it at the market price, and then it looks a little bit cheaper. But now the government is going broke, And so basically they're just printing more money. And so it's not going to help. And of course, any type of price controls, you might have issues with a lot of other things too as well of supply that, I don't want to spend, I don't want to sell you anything if you're going to put a price cap or something on. I don't know the specific of it, but I think it's just German government purchasing, gas at the market rate, and then they're giving a break in between. And who knows? The market rate might go like 10 times higher, and then suddenly, what are you going to do? Yeah, it's like in Germany just posted a 10% inflation. So they're really deep trouble in Europe, and we're gonna look into some more reasons why, of course. Now, BASF, the biggest chemical giant in the world, their stuff is in so much things, and lots of things that I have as well. They're getting in trouble, and what they're doing is they ready more ammonia production, and then they let's see now. BASF readies more ammonia production, cuts in gas supply crunch. So basically, they're getting more produced now in order to maybe having to preserve some energy to make less in the future. During Nord Stream happened, and then suddenly all these embassies are now pulling out, telling that we should get our personnel out of Russia. And of course, they had the inauguration ceremony sermon just was it yesterday, I believe, or the day before? I forgot. So we talked about that in the episode number 16, how I believe that was basically the one trigger that could happen. But then Nord Stream happened, so there was definitely a black swan that I didn't really think of, because like why would Russia destroy their own $10 billion pipeline just for shits and giggles kind of thing? Uh, yeah, I don't know. Well, Putin is a psychopath. He's crazy. He would do that. I don't know. I don't think he's that psychotic. I think he's more calculated than any other, and had a little bit of calm head as well. And we gotta remember this whole thing with the energy prices in Europe and everything being so expensive, they really have to happen because in April of this year, Ukraine and Russia had a peace treaty laid out, and then comes Boris Johnson on behalf of NATO and said like, no, 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 no. Hey, Zelensky, you need some more cocaine. We'll give you some more cocaine if you say no. And so basically, no happened. And now, sorry, I didn't even mention it. It's not on here. There's so much happening. Ukraine is looking at having NATO membership now as well. So yeah, the things are getting pretty insane, and getting the clock is ticking towards that World War III, unfortunately. So let's go into some other developments. Some people are saying that the China's One Belt One Road initiative is hitting speed bumps now with development due to, of course, the geopolitical state that we're in. And according to some economists, China's debt trap diplomacy. Like this is hilarious, because this is the United States through the IMF as well. Oh, you gotta love this, like pro-American, written. Where is this? Tiger. I'm not sure where this is, like which country this is from. But anyways, it's looks like Thailand, Thailand. But yeah, it's like debt trap diplomacy. That's pretty much the IMF as well. So let's not shove that under. I remember covering the Zambian debt default, and then of course China purchasing their infrastructure. Now, I don't know what happens in Sri Lanka, what they have there that they will, pick up for infrastructure. But it'd be interesting. Will the One Belt One Road initiative fall apart? Will China collapse potentially and not become, the one what some people believe is going to be the next powerful player in the world when the United States dollar falls after it's becoming strong and then it falls over. I don't know. Hard to tell, but there has been some big things happening over at Bank of England. And Bank of England has intervened with temporary QE. Temporary. I love this word always. Like temporary. There's nothing temporary at all in this world when it comes to central banking. It's I remember watching the whole repo blow up. I followed it very closely. What was going on there, and yeah, they were actually purchasing treasuries at the time too as well. But what was interesting is that it was supposed to be temporary. You had the QE. It was just overnight. Then it turned into 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months repos, and then it just turned into outright purchases of mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. So very interesting. So Bank of England had to intervene. There was serious trouble. There were margin calls actually from pension funds. We can look at it here. UK pension fund hit with £100 million margin call as gilts and sterling slide. So it was a massive sell-off. UK pension fund a bit have been hit with hard margin calls of as much as £100 million each after sharp falls in gilts and sterling pushes a mark-to-market valuation on derivatives leverage repo positions heavily against them. So yeah, again, the whole monetary system there is in severe problems, and we'll see where it's gonna go over the next weeks, but it's not a good place that they're going. Are they gonna cut interest rates? Well, they have technically started to buy long-term gilts or bonds, as they're called here. So they're looking at, to calm down and bring down the interest rate because it went somewhere ridiculous. Let's go and look at UK gilts here quickly. We're gonna go and look at the UK. So as you can see here, this is the 10-year. Let's see if we can bring up the 30-year at all. Yeah, here you see the massive run up here. It was just in a few days here, 3 days. You had 3.39 all the way up to 5.12, and then they started buying here, and now you can see it's dropped down quite drastically. Uh, but again, just buying your assets doesn't help you very much because uh, it might help initially in the currency. Buying your bonds doesn't help because we got Japan here. They had their control. Let's see here now. As you can see, they had control. They were buying a whole bunch of bonds here. They've been buying bonds for a while. But then the money printing comes back to haunt you, doesn't it? When money starts flowing in, it's gone into assets and so on, and then that money sells off, and then suddenly it's in the real economy a bit, and then you get this massive run up. Look at this, like from under 100 here in November 2020 all the way up to 144. So that's a drastic loss. That's like, what is it? Let's go back here, and I'll tell you almost. Yeah, it's basically like 50-60% drop. Like this is just year over year. But anyways, let's get back to our articles here. So we're still in the UK. BlackRock had threatened to halt trading at the height of UK market tumult. So again, you halt trading. You think that you can sell assets and so on, and you can't suddenly. And you got all these circuit breakers also that happened, especially during March 2020. There was tons of circuit breakers kicking in. I remember me and Tim Pachot, we were covering, the crisis as it happened, and then you had circuit breakers kicking in all the time because there was so much loss happening in March 2020 there. So yeah, they're coming in and basically saying like, hey, we're gonna shut things off if you start start playing around UK government and Bank of England. You gotta bail us out here. Now, what is happening now with the tumult in Europe? There's some serious problems, and let's I'm gonna actually bring this up here. It's not very big though, but I'm gonna pull it over. Let's read this first though because this just came out, and the Credit Suisse CEO says that they have a strong capital base and liquidity. And this comes after they got some serious problems with their stock. Let's go and look at their stock actually. Here, let's go to the stock markets and take a look at the Swiss. Let's go to Credit Suisse here. Yeah, here look at the biggest loser is Credit Suisse this year. And as you can see, they're at or near record lows right now, and historical lows. Now, I looked at Deutsche Bank too because that's also of interest, because Deutsche Bank has always been a big problem as well. But Credit Suisse, as you can see, is very serious problem. Now there's other banks too. Yeah, here's some other Credit Suisse shares. Is that General shares or something? And then some other shares. I'm not sure. And then Raiffeisen Bank is also in a bit of trouble. As you can see, all banks here. A lot of banks are struggling in Europe. Like these are all down. Like from Allianz here and up. Morgan Stanley, everybody is losing right now. Where's JP Morgan on? Yeah, JP Morgan is down 37.47. Erste Group, Bank, is down. Citibank, look at this. So let's go and look at Citibank too. You discover things and then you just keep on watching. Yeah, as you can see, it's not at their lows, but they've been really struggling here and not really recovered from their highs in before 2008. But yeah, there's some serious problems. But mainly right now it's Credit Suisse, but that will be contagion. The derivatives, the debt, everything that Credit Suisse has. What's going to happen with that when you get a potential collapse? And of course, but when a CEO of the bank comes out and say like we have a strong capital base and liquidity, as they did right now. When I'm recording this, it's 4 o'clock here, and this came out at 11:37. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's like Ben Bernanke coming out and saying that, oh, there's no crisis in the mortgage market, and then 2 days, I think, after his statement, the mortgage backed the CDOs collapsed, and the whole debt crisis in the real estate market just basically destroyed a lot of the world and pension funds and so on. And the pension funds in the UK is one thing here, but look at like when these derivatives blow up, where they situated, are they going to be enough to bankrupt? Like in Norway, the CDOs bankrupted a whole bunch of local municipal pension funds, which I think they're still struggling to get that money back. I don't think they've gotten that money back at all yet as well. There was some talks with it, of course. Okay, so from that crisis, it's insane. Like this is just unbelievable what is going on right now. So from that crisis to another gigantic crisis is the real estate problems in Canada. And of course, here it says, here come the rises. Employers planning the biggest wage hike in 20 years. Okay, so we had inflation. Now we're gonna get more inflation because you get the hikes. People struggling to pay their bills. Now here comes the employers having to pay their employees more. The employers has to charge more, and so on. So it's just a vicious cycle of this inflation, and it's very destructive, of course. But they're forced to do this. It's not that they doing this just because they feel like it. They have to do it to make their employees survive. So be prepared for more inflation as the inflation has calmed down a little bit. And I kind of predicted that we're going to see a huge peak again, starting to happen maybe at the end or latter of this year or maybe into next year. It could come earlier. Who knows? I'm not, I can't predict the time frame, unfortunately, with things, but you could predict a little bit of things and risks that could happen because they're out there, and some of them are verifiable and you can see it. The Nord Stream blow up there was kind of a black swan. So very unexpected and very severe event that we don't understand the ramifications of what just happened there. It's very big. But back to Canada again. Canada's housing market is in much more perilous state than America's. Plus, why Scotiabank is a buy. Okay. I love this. Of course, I can't view this article because it's Global Mail and they charge you. And I don't feel like I want to buy stupid news outlets that I don't trust their news anyways because they're slanted. I love this. Like a sponsored article, maybe? Yeah, it's really perilous, but you should buy a bank that lends money to mortgages. And now I predicted in 2017 that the mortgage markets will collapse. They were in collapse. There was mortgage lenders that failed. I forgot what it was. What's his name? Warren Buffett came in and bought a Canadian mortgage lender, and he bailed them out by $13 billion. And then right after, he issued a mortgage-backed security that got AAA rated from the organization that just had failing mortgages. So they were struggling, but then interest rates, of course, came down, and you had COVID and everything happening. So things kind of slowed down. That whole crash that could have come earlier, but now we're really entering it again, and you're starting to see, especially with let's go and look at Canada's interest rate here. Where can we go to quickly find it? Yeah, here we go. So Canada's yeah, inflation rate has gone down a little bit. Everybody thinks we're getting some breathing room. Just get prepared, because things are gonna get really serious very fast. Let's go to money here. Yeah, the interest rates is currently at 3.25, and as you can see, it's pretty rapid hiking. You can see it's a steeper hiking than a lot of the other hikes that have come. Very steep because they're panicking because of high inflation. They're trying to fight it. But again, like inflation is officially 7%. It's probably more like 15, 20 at least, the average inflation, probably even more. But as you can see, it's 7%. And you got, so if they're going to fight inflation, really, interest rates would need to be like 7, 8%, probably 8 or 9%, really have an impact at all for it to turn around the cycle. Um, and then of course you get massive credit crunch and collapse, and they can't have that right now because they're gonna have to bail everybody out. It's fun to bail everybody out. Uh, the cycle never stops with these central bankers. They're just making things worse and worse and worse and worse as they keep on bailing everybody out. One more thing that's happening in Europe that I thought was interesting is the Moroccan green mobility revolution, the GUIC economy factor driving its rise as an electric vehicle manufacturing hub. So, because they got solar power, they're planning a big solar plant down there. My mom's boyfriend is down there right now. He's from Morocco, and but he's been telling me about Morocco and what's going on there, and so. But Morocco also has high inflation as well, so but they're making deals with solar and so on. They got a lot of young global leaders for the World Economic Forum down there as well. So who knows what their plan is? But now they're trying to set themselves up as a electric vehicle hub down there in Morocco. Uh, so let's see now. Let's go back here to myself. Hello. Now, I think what I'm gonna do is I think we're gonna maybe go ahead and then just briefly look at the infrastructure. Since we have had we talked about Nordstream and everything that's going on. There's talk of potential retaliation, and I want to take a look at and basically show you, excuse me, of what I think is potential risks that are going on here, and what we could see on an infrastructure level. Now let's take a look. We're going to just briefly go over it, maybe like 15, 20 minutes here. So we're not going to make this as long as probably I might do another one on more specific on what can be sabotaged and so on, potentially 5 times. So, but yeah, let's go back to sharing the screen here, and then we're going to look at some infrastructure stuff. Here, let me just pull it up here for you guys. So here we go. And as we can see, let's go to, this is interesting, a very interesting map. I really like looking at things and then trying to kind of look at like, okay, so what could happen here? It's kind of the thing. And this is interesting because you can see infrastructure from all countries. You can see Norlisk. Norlisk is the biggest nickel producer in Russia, by the way. They're also right here. Let's see now. Where are we? Oh yeah, here. If we go here, you got right around. Where's Kirkness? Oh yeah, here. So you got right around here. Yeah, this is it here, I believe. Oh no, down here. But yeah, you got nickel. Oh, there we are. Right there. This is nickel. This is the gigantic nickel producing factory, one of the biggest ones in the world. But as you can see here, we have a grid, and this is the electrical hydro network. And as you can see, there's look at the insane amount of infrastructure that we have, and we're gonna keep this afloat and have it working. Now this one doesn't show under water lines because I know that Norway has several. I think they have something to UK and even to Denmark as well, and Germany. They might have some undersea hydro line as well. But just looking at this, the impact and what could be sabotaged, what would be. Now we don't see the dams or the energy where they actually make these make the hydro, so it's hard to really show you and then be like, hey, maybe they would attack this place or that place and so on. But there's a lot of energy grid around, and what when Nord Stream is attacked, who knows what else is gonna are gonna get attacked as well. So of course we're gonna look a little bit at gas after this, but this is the look at the intricacy. If you do an EMP, for example, you could really destroy the grid on some of these places, and transformers would blow up, and it would be really serious. As you can see here, it's not the same in Africa. It's very underdeveloped, as you can see, and there's some places that you could just cut off probably here, like places like this. Look at this hydro line here, and there's no backup lines, which is very dangerous place to be. But in Russia, who knows what could be attacked here. Um, you got for between Russia and Finland. Let's see if there's a major hydro line going across here. Yeah, it looks like here. Now this is Russia, here's Finland. Yeah, so here it looks like there's a major hydro line going in here, it looks like. So that could be a problem, of course. Other than that, it doesn't look like they have any other. This is a planned one, by the way, which is not happening now, I guess. Oh no, this is no, as you can see here, this is not connected. Um, but you try to look at these places, and as you can see here, here's another Russian Finnish connection here. These are now planned. I predicted, yeah, the predicted infrastructure. Now, will those happen? Will clear heads prevail, and we're gonna go back to basically be normal again? We don't know. Here's Norwegian Intergrid, and this one here too. As you can see here, you could just cut a line here, and then suddenly Kirkness and all these places will suddenly have issues. Very important. Like here, let's look at Manitoba because I just felt like doing it. But you have different lines here, as you can see. They split up, and it's it's interconnected. But some of them, like look at this here, for example. This one could just be cut off, or like up here. I know that these are powering stations. You can see them here because I've been up here. You could just cut one of these major lines, and then you'd be in serious trouble. You could impede basically. This is the capital city of Winnipeg here, and you could have some serious issues. So yeah, things are not with infrastructure. If you don't have redundancy and lines that could go several places, and then you have opposite lines. When we did fiber optics in buildings, for example, you have 2 or 3 different routes that you route. You don't route the fiber optic cable the same place, because if you do, there was actually a fire in a hospital, I remember, in a power room, and it burnt down one of the main trunks of fiber, but you still had another one that ran somewhere else to protect you, from it. And unless the actual room where it comes from burns burns up, then we got a way worse issue. But yeah, anything could be potentially attacked, and there's probably a lot of different lines that goes in between nations and so on that could get targeted. Major hydro lines, that would severely impede, of course, parts of what could happen. But we're also going to look at other infrastructure, because take a look at all the infrastructure in the world. It's quite the incredible feat that we've done when you think about it, of infrastructure as well. Just looking at this map and how much energized it is, it's quite the human achievement, to let's say the least, to celebrate that in some sort of way. Now, when it comes to natural gas, you basically cut, this supply off, which is Russia is the second biggest natural gas supplier in the world, and Iran is the third. So think about that. And China. So what if these three here just be like, hey, screw Western European countries? Uh, they're gonna be even more painful, in my belief. So yeah, things are very interesting. As you can see here, with some of the major allies are together here on top. Now Canada is here over in North America, so we got pretty much our own stuff, so which is good. And then you have over here, you could look at some of the Canadian. These are the Canadian pipelines for oil and gas. And as you can see here, you could sabotage these, especially where there's single ones running. Here's like you can see that they mitigated the risk a little bit by running multiple. And again, there's some going, but here, you cut one of these off, you sabotage it, let's say 3 or 4 places. Suddenly, these hubs are then struggling. Now, this is oil pipelines going in here for the West Coast, and they are also sending that back into Toronto, Montreal, for course, and so on. So, yeah, you could have sabotage of this in Canada. I wouldn't not say that that would happen, but in a war, everything is possible. They attack Nordstream, so who knows what could be next. This is oil pipelines in China and in Eastern Asia, and this is Turkey here, the Middle East, and surrounding areas, as you can see here. To Japan, you could cut off that. That'd be a severe hit to them. And then you can see I think these are these oil wells maybe, or something like that. I think they might be, or ports, some sorts. Anyways, but as you can see, the infrastructure here again, not so much that we care about too much of this. We're gonna, let's look at American infrastructure. As you can see, it's way better well built than the United States. No, in the United States than in Canada. We're not as, we don't have like just one line, one pipeline, well, multiple pipelines probably, but very close to each other. But here you can see it's a mishmash smash everywhere. There's just one, going somewhere. So they're more protected for from an energy perspective. Now we're gonna go to something that could be more looked upon as an issue. Now, of course, we're gonna go and look at telecommunication cables, right? And here you could see all the world's um, telecommunication cables. And what you see here is basically where they go, like they jump in between and so on. You can see all the Norwegian coast is full of underwater cable, for example. Yeah, let's go and look here and see. So here you got, and as you can see here, this one here is like from Russia to Kaliningrad. This one could be severed, for example, because I don't know if they have anything through here through Belarus, maybe through but this railroad here goes through Lithuania, uh, and I don't know if they laid a fiber from Belarus through here. Uh, I should probably have looked on land telecommunication cable, but it's more easier to probably sabotage underwater ones. As you can see here, you got multiple ones between Norway and Denmark here. You also have multiple ones between Norway and the UK. As you can see, it's for redundancy. Of course. For redundancy that this is being done because they need to protect themselves. So it's going to be a lot harder. People say, oh, you could just cut off some underwater cable and then everything will go down. Now there's also satellite backup, guys. So just attacking a telco infrastructure might not be the easiest, uh, to say the least. You could see all these different pipes, like underwater sea cables here, running through and to different, but you could see major lines here. And these, I don't know if they're probably all running at the same place, but take a look at all these undersea cables they're moving with infrastructure through different countries. Malaysia is very heavily connected here. You got China here, of course. You got a whole bunch of different cables going from China to then Malaysia, so like in Indonesia. So what you can see here is very interesting. You can kind of see where the main lines come, and of course you got these from Japan to the United States and Canada. Some major lines there. You got a bunch of lines going here in between Europe um, and um, and North America. And here also there's underwater sea cables here going several places here as well. There's probably a sat link here that runs, but here you can see them under here. Like all these are points, and of course here's one from Norway. This is interesting, all the way to Canada in the middle of nowhere. Uh, Glen Bay North. So that's probably, I don't know if it then goes on land. But as you can see, there's lots of communications in between countries. But as you can see, Russia is more uh, not so well connected to the rest of the world with underwater sea cables. So they are not at the same risk. Well, they're for risk that you could severe connection here between these. Like if you go and sever some connection here, because these are the probably their energy. I know that there's some energy stuff going on there. They ship out oil and so on. We're gonna actually go and look at the um, that as well on the shipping routes that could be potentially stop blocked and so on, and retaliations or between nations and so on if this war do escalate. But as you can see, it's going to be harder, and you have, of course, satellite backup if you sever, but they're all over the place. It's not that they just are completely, at the same spot. I've assumed these are spread out a bit, but as you can see here, they go several places. So it's not just one place. You could blow up a major entrance hub, of course. Like here, for example, you have one that have 4 fibers. So you could blow up these connection points, of course. So that is a potential. But as you can see here, between different countries here, there's lots of communication cables that are run to communicate and make internet faster. Because when this is the case, it just works way faster. Communication when you have more routing routes and easier, right? So very interesting. This is the telco cables, mostly fiber. I don't know how much copper it would be, to be honest. It's probably mostly fiber optical cable because they're the only ones that really run on good long distances. Now we're going to look at some satellite stuff. And of course, you got our buddy Elon Musk. And I think, yeah, this is Starlink, as you can see here. And Starlink is interesting. Like, look at all these little satellites. This is pretty crazy. And as you can see here, are these launches? These might be launches here. Do you see this? Like all these here, you see one here as well. I think they're getting ready to be launched and then they send them up. But as you can see, there's two. When I looked at just recently, there was none of this. So this might just be, and here too, look at this. Another one down here as well. But these are probably just gonna be going in and connecting themselves potentially. I don't know exactly, but as you can see, look at this is Starlink, just Starlink satellites, guys, and these are thousands upon thousands of satellites around the world that do communicate with internet, and of course Starlink. What they've done is that they have ground-based link ups here. And as you can see, this is the one that I connected, the roulette in North Dakota, one that the satellites around me communicate through. I'm probably right now as we speak, I might be on this one right here, guys. Starlink satellite 2425. And then this will be my next one that I'm going to communicate to as we're doing this video. Very interesting stuff though to look at. But again, it's going to be very hard to sabotage the Starlink network. Now there's weak points on the ground, as I said, with all the underground hubs. But they could potentially work interlink, and then you'd be able to communicate out and so on in between satellite. I don't know how much that is set up with Starlink to do kind of a global mesh, but look at this. Like this is pretty incredible. When you look at the amount of Starlink satellites that is up there. There's a bunch over the north, a few over the North Pole, of course, because they're more vulnerable to the belt as well, as you can see here in Argentina. But they really have gotten very far with the Starlink. Very interesting stuff. Now I'm getting fiber optical cable as well, but I think I'm gonna keep my Starlink as a backup in case of insanity breaks out. This is OneWeb. This is another satellite provider that's out there, and these are at way higher altitude. See, like this is so Starlink is at 548, while these are at 1200. So there's almost 3 times the difference in space. So these are not as great as the other ones, to say the least, when it comes to speeds and so on, because they're way further away, 3 times. And then we got the global GPS system that the United States has, and as you can see, you can see these are very far out there. Altitude is 19,103 30 kilometers. So quite the bit. And as you can see here, here's all the GPS satellites around. Very, very interesting. But yeah, a lot of interesting. And here you can see they move around. So here we got one over where I live right now, and I have GPS on some stuff. So yeah, this is the United States like communication GPS network that keeps us alive. Now there's been launched also Russian, as we just mentioned there, type of GPS competitor network, of course. Um, so very interesting. Satellite warfare is being worked on, and I think Russia just recently shot another satellite down as a tryout. So there's a lot of things that could happen with that too, or you could get a soul for them. We're all screwed up when all these satellites could potentially go flying if you get a really, really serious one. Um, More on the infrastructure. Actually, let's do the maritime infrastructure, so the transportation of it. Uh, Last. Here you can see all the lines that we didn't see on the other one in Russia, and of course, as you can see here, they come from this region where most of the oil is produced in Russia, and you can see they branch out here. They go through Ukraine. Here is one that then moves in through. And remember, we were talking about Austria and a line with issues that went to Italy. So this is the one here, probably, that has some issues. Um, but here you can see lines that you could strike. You could sabotage this line for Russia. You could come in here and take out a few right here. Um, Now, these are oil, I believe, not gas. Oh no, oil and gas. Now, don't show Nordstream here, but this is just onshore, I believe, with this map. As you can see here, they go through several places. Now, will they be used anymore with war going on? I don't know. Like, there's still stuff flowing here, as I'm trying to say. So, but there's lots of places that you could sabotage here to stop Russia. If it was Russia sabotaging its own infrastructure, I don't know. But this is European Russian infrastructure. Uh, let's go and look at what could be some regions. Do we have anything here? Here's some interesting. Oh, here's another one. Let's go and look at this one and see if we can pull it up. This one here is called South Corridor. This is from the Caspian Sea, goes through Turkey, and then ends up in Italy. So that is a potential problem. Could be. Here's the Black Sea, guys. So this is very interesting. There's lots and lots of gas lines, as you can see here. South Stream, like tons of gas lines moving from Turkey here to Russia. You also got ones going in, hitting Bulgaria and all the way over the place here. So the Black Sea, and this is also one of the reasons why they want to control Sevastopol, like have their military base there, the Russians, is because of these gas lines right here. They want to protect them And who knows? Are they going to get sabotaged too? I don't know. Nothing is off the table right now, to say the least. But it could, also be some underwater telco cables, but less of efficiency in impeding your opponent, of course. Here's, yeah, just some other ones. These are also, like when it comes to oil war, I talked about how they tried to take out Syria, for example, here, but Syria is landlocking, Saudi Arabia and so on, and others in a way. So it's very interesting. There's lots of maybe the society forces behind the push, but they've kind of gotten up to Russia now and trying to be buddies. But there's lots of ways you could impede. But what I'm saying is that there's all these ways that you could take out infrastructure. Uh, oh, this one is not. Here we are. What is this again? Oh yeah. So again, other targets other than just infrastructure too could be military bases. As you can see here, there's lots of, these are American military bases, and there's lots that could be taken out here. Lots of targets that could be, taken out in a military, low yield nuke scenario here as well. So lots of naval bases everywhere, as you can see. And then when it comes to nuke control, there's some limited treaties here, as you can see. But as you can see, there's these countries that have nuclear weapons, right? So these are going to be problematic. As you see here, you got France, the UK as well. But look at Russia and United States. So if you get start to see nuclear war, this here is going to destroy Earth. If this hell are, as you can see, ready to launch. They got the Russians have more than the Americans. Okay. Um, Very dangerous situation ever in that they're actually looking at, having this happen. As you can see here, they got these are the nuclear sites in the United States that could be hit, of course. And if you're close to them, you might be in some trouble. This one is in Minot, North Dakota. It's quite far away, so probably wouldn't be as bad, but you could still get nuclear fallout to where I live. You got one in Montana, but as you can see, they're everywhere here in all across the United States. There's tons of launch sites and plants and labs as well that you could hit of infrastructure that are used for military ways. Yeah, so uh, lots of places now. I don't have the Russian because Russia's a lot more secret. Anyways, but you could also lock ports and gaps of transportation. Like we talked, I think, before about, the Taiwan Strait could shut down where I think 13 billion trillion dollar no 3 point something trillion dollars comes through all the time, like with traffic of boats. Um, so that's a place that you could shut. You could shut down here the Red Sea, and cut that off. Got the Strait of Hormuz. Um, let's see now here, the Black Sea here, right here, and Turkey could shut that off or on to impede potential traffic going in and out. Um, so there's lots of corridors. As you can see here too, there's lots of boats here on the rivers moving around in Germany as well. So very interesting. And then of course you got the northern routes here. Sorry, let's just, if you zoom it out a little bit, you can see the routes a little bit better, the most denser routes. These are hard to control, of course. But you got, of course, the Panama Canal here that could be sabotaged, um, as well to impede in war. Like we're talking about wars here, and who knows with these morons what they could, do with their plans. But anyways, I think that's enough for now. This was a long video, but I think it's worth it to like kind of get an idea of what could happen next, because I think potential targets are some of the stuff that we talked about here. And if you want to do some more research, I'm going to post all of this stuff in the show notes here underneath the video. So stay tuned, guys. Let's just bring myself up here again. You probably don't want to see my my low face, but here I am. Anyways, but yeah, I think that concludes everything. We went through a lot of different things that could happen. I think a potential strike from Russia or somebody else now is very near. You know, they pulled out all the people from Russia now, from embassies, a lot of countries, Western countries. So I think potential hot war directly between NATO and Russia is very close right now. So stay tuned, stay, and stay. If you're in Europe right now, that's probably the worst place you could be. And that's where, the world wars have been fought before. And now, of course, it's spilled over to the second one, spilled over to China and the Pacific Ocean, of course, and over there, but not really to American soil other than Hawaii, which could or could not be another false flag. We got the Gulf of Tonkin that started the Vietnamese War. Is the Nord Stream, a potential startup of another war by blaming the Russians and then sabotaging their own infrastructure, where they send probably potentially could have been trillions of dollars of oil in a real trade economics. And why can't you just go back to actually trading between each other and being peaceful? No, because our currencies are failing. So we need to destroy each other to print more money to then have a monetary reset. But with, like these morons here, there's some like the Pengo came during the war. You got of course the Yugoslavian dinar here, 500 billion dinar that came through a war. So be prepared for everything. Make sure that you have protected yourself with being more self-reliant and self-sufficient. That's the key. I talk to a lot of people that are doing a lot of those moves, and I'm including myself into that. Preparing myself. I'm gonna invest in some heating, backup heating for the home that is off grid, and some off grid, protection for food as well, creating food here as well. So it's very important that you make those connections and also have networks around the people, because if we enter a war, they're going to try to come and draft you and drag you into this war and fight for these stupid empires that are trying to destroy each other because they're high on power. You need to try to stay away from that and get away as far as you can from big cities and so on that could be targets during these big wars. So yeah, stay tuned, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's report. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. Not so much positive right now, unfortunately. But if you prepare, there's a lot of more positivity in being prepared and being over prepared and under prepared. If something really bad and you get World War III breaking out. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one.